Well, hey, Facebook. Welcome to our Thursday night Facebook Live with Dr. Michael Gross and me, to you now. I'm going to go ahead and do a really quick introduction on Michael because he's got a super powerful message that I cannot wait to hear. And I know it's going to be phenomenal. So here we're going to go, okay? Thank you so much for joining us. We're going to keep this right on time. Okay, Dr. Michael Gross is an author, professional keynote speaker, transformational coach, and an entrepreneur. For more than 3 decades, he has been on a spiritual path as an intuitive, a healer, a spiritual counselor, and an incredible teacher. Through the guidance of spirit, Michael has assisted others in their personal quest for self empowerment, helping them to create the lives that they have long sought and to bring forth their intuitive abilities. Michael currently teaches classes in spirituality, self empowerment, Reiki, and other modalities. Stumbled on that word, didn't I? In concert with God, the true source, he also has achieved great success and miraculous healings. He remains humble, knowing that all the work that he does comes from God, the true source. Michael currently lives in Lakewood, Washington, and has launched his nonprofit. I would like to introduce the world to Dr. Michael Gross.
Thank you very much. Welcome, everybody. I'm glad you could join us. And I wanted to speak today about your life and your soul. And it's kind of a dichotomy in our life. And by that, I mean our ego and our mind and go in this direction, and sometimes our soul goes in that direction. And we have this push pull of what are we doing, what is right, what is wrong. And of course, our ego gets involved. And we always want to do right. We want to be loved. We want to be accepted. And I'm no different. And probably all of you that are listening to us feel the same way. But there's something that's really important in our life and something we forgot about. And what we forgot about is we have pre-programmed, pre-planned our life, not to the minute detail. In other words, if you sprain your ankle, that probably wasn't in your life unless it was debilitating or maybe you had to learn something. But basically, life is just a bunch of experiences. On the other hand, we have what we call the soul path. And let's give some examples, and later on I'll be going into more depth. And if we bother to think, the soul says, okay, I'm going to incarnate in this family. And so I'm going to have the DNA of this family. Maybe short, tall, blonde, brunette, blue eyes, green eyes, brown eyes, whatever. You chose that for a specific reason. But then there are more things that are going on. And you chose your family, your siblings. And why? Because each of you are teachers to each other.
Oh
You're
man, I
learning.
picked my sisters.
Yes,
Oh
you
my
did.
gosh, I'm sorry for interrupting. I picked my sisters. Oof.
So this is kind of what's going on, and we chose our family, but everything within us, everyone we meet, we are a student of. And being a student is we learn something new from everyone else. And yes, we're a teacher because we share information. But more importantly, what happens is we get a little bit older. We decide that we're going to take a different path or a path. And come heck or high water, we're going to make it work. Well, sometimes we choose that path. And sometimes we run into brick walls. And then we get disgusted. And that's a sure sign that you're not at this path this time. Now, that path may be correct when you're 50, 60, 80 years old or never. But in the interim, if you will follow and listen and follow your thoughts, when I say follow, what I'm talking about, consider, should I take this direction? And sometimes we don't get an answer. We're not sure. So the first thing I'm going to share with all of you is something that I practice all my life and I've discussed before. I ask God, the true source, to really give me a sign that this is the right path or whatever. And if I don't get one right away, which most people don't because they're looking for that sound that Michael, take this path. It's an intuitive feeling. Now, sometimes you hear a voice and that's called clairaudient, but that's really rare. Most of the time, it's a thought that comes into your mind. And if you don't get an answer, here's something you need to understand. You ask a question of the true source, you get the answer right away. Right away. However, because you have some kind of expectations, no expectations, no attachments, but you have an expectation. If If you don't hear what you want to hear, the ego blocks it out. Can't hear a thing. That's what the ego will do. So whether it's right or wrong, the ego always desires to be right. You sabotage yourself with your ego. What you do is have gold and honey with your soul. So right now you have to make a decision when you make a choice. And that is listen to what your soul urge is. What is your soul urge? I want to do this, but I feel I should do that. That's one of the signs. Or you ask for a positive sign, to do a specific thing, and what happens is you'll get the sign. So there are so many things that are going on in our life. And I remember, and I've told this story before, but I want to reiterate it. One of my students wanted to set up talking books. Those days we had little CDs, or we had little tapes went in. And she talked to her husband about it. And she wanted to start this business. No, I want to buy a new boat. So she came to class and she brought it up to the students. They all said it was great. So she asked me for reading. And 3 weeks later, she said, I made my decision. I said, what is it? Well, I went to 8 psychics. 7 got it wrong because they said it would be successful, but the 8th got it right. It wouldn't be successful. And I looked at, 7 out of 8. That's about a 96%, or 85, whatever it is, 90+% that it's going to work. But she decided that her husband had laid us such a guilt trip, she had to find somebody to make an excuse so that she wouldn't spend the money on talking books and he could buy his boat. Instead of saying, hey, this is my dream. You have a boat already. Your dream is to get a bigger boat. Let me be successful and do what I need to do. We'll buy the boat in a year or two and get your bigger boat. But no. And she shortly thereafter did drop out of class. And she was not listening to the thoughts of her soul. But that's so common today. And then I look at so many people, they want to make a decision. And the last 400 people, of course I'm exaggerating, last 6 or 7 or 8 people, they'll get 6 or 7 or 8 different answers. But unless they're an expert in that field, how do they know what's the right answer? Well, most of us give an answer when someone asks something based on hearsay or based on something that, you hear on the radio or TV. But I remember when I moved into this area and they said, oh, it's a bad area, it's dangerous. And every town has a little shady area, but I'm far away enough from it. They said, well, yeah, I guess you're right, but my contractor left all the saws and everything out in the front yard. It was here the next morning. And that's all I would say. And they would look at me. Why? Because they heard something on the news that something wasn't right in the town I live in. Well, there's always something that's not right in some towns. Something's always going wrong. But you have to learn to listen. Listen to your inner soul guidance. That's what's so important. And if we don't, if we don't, then what happens is we end up with egg on our face. When you have a dream, whether that dream is to have a new car, a house, a happy family, whatever it may be, follow that dream. Listen to the thoughts of the soul to achieve that dream. Not what the ego says, but what feels right and comfortable. Ask for that sign. We're all at a precipice right now. We don't know whether to go left or go right, go up and down. Everybody's telling you this, the news is telling you that. You're totally confused.
I'll agree.
And what happens is you have the fight or flight syndrome. I've talked about this before, or the frozen. So you're frozen. Do this, do that, do this, do that, do that. I don't know what to do. But when you listen to inner source guidance and ask for a sign, then you're now in charge of your life.
So, Michael?
Yes.
Would you explain how we know it's our soul talking to us and not our ego?
Absolutely. Let me have a double drink here because I'm getting a little dry. It's so simple, the answer, that it's ridiculous. The ego has to give you a reason for everything. For example, buy the car. The price is right. You'll look good in it. You can afford it. Yada yada yada. So buy the car. Period. No excuses. No reason. Why? Because the soul knows exactly what's proper for you, what's right, and does not have to justify itself because everything it helps you make a decision on is 100% perfect. But I meet so many souls that are so lost. And what's going on now in our political arena, and I'm being politically neutral right now, is that one party says this, one party says that, one says this, one says that, and they all extend the truth. They take little snippets and change what you are hearing to suit their motives. But listen, as a human being, we're no different. We take a little things out of context, we embellish things, and we present it the way we feel it should be presented, even if it's wrong. So there's no difference. What if the world was totally honest with itself? What if the world began to listen to the thoughts of the soul? What if the world would sit there or talk to you and say, well, you want to do this? Are you sure it's right? Does it really feel comfortable? And what's the reason you're doing this? That would be so beautiful because that goes back to critical thinking, one of my pet projects, critical thinking. And critical thinking is so important because it's not letting someone persuade you. It's what you are looking at and analyzing, looking left, right, up, down, around the corners, and then deciding if it's correct. And even if you learn that it's not correct and end up with egg on your face, you've gained positive new knowledge. And you haven't been burnt very heavily or probably not at all. This critical thinking, this life that we're in, we're having a big choice. And the choice is now to listen to our souls. The choice is now, do we want to remain behind and stuck, fear, anger, anxiety, and hate? Or do we want to live in a life of love and joy and happiness? I posted a while back on Facebook, and that is that we need to understand there's no forgiveness without love, and there's no love without forgiveness. And why would you forgive someone? For you. See, if someone took advantage of you or did something wrong to you, you need to look at it. And you've learned something from it. Maybe it was justified, maybe it wasn't justified, but they were teaching you something. More importantly, you and your soul set that instance up to grow and learn something, even though it may have been painful, because you let your ego get in control. Your soul says, okay, well, just let it go that way, and we're going to set you up to learn a lesson, painful or not. And what do? You gain knowledge. Can you put a price on knowledge? Nope, it's priceless. Can you change the knowledge? No. You can learn from it, you can enhance it, or you can set it aside. And knowledge is one of the greatest gifts that we have because essentially you learn what is working and what is not working, or how to apply what you've learned. So if you're an electrical engineer and you put together clocks and then you buy a bicycle, are you going to put a clock on your bicycle? Maybe, but more than likely the two are different. You learn how to adjust the gears and everything. Entirely different than a clock. But the only lesson you learned was to research and have patience and to think each step out. Because making a watch, you have to think things out. Riding your bike, changing the gears, whatever you need to do, adjusting the chain, you got to think things out. So the important thing is you're looking at the big picture and you're learning something. You're learning how to reason, how to gain knowledge and strength so that you can move forward in life. Let's talk about our current life. It is so filled with judgmentalness, anger, frustration, hate. Our amendment, First Amendment says freedom of speech. Really don't have that. Really don't have that because some parts of social media will not allow you to say what you feel. Then again, there are other people that you talk to, and If you disagree with them in a gentle way, they'll call you a transphobic, phobic, this and that. They call you all kinds of different names because you don't agree with them. It's not that you don't agree, you're expressing your opinion. And that's freedom of choice, freedom to express yourself, freedom to talk about what you desire. Now, when some people talk to me and I went, wow, they're way off base. But you know what? I just say thank you very much. Because that type of soul, no matter what you say, you're not going to convince them. They're not. Absolutely not. Because they're focused and they're closed minded. Now, in certain instances, that really works well. But in 98, 99%, it doesn't. For example, we look at Steve Jobs and we look at Apple. He created and helped a software system along with others. He had a dream and he came out with a software system and a computer. And the most important thing is, even though he had that dream, he was open to improvement, which is so possible, so powerful. And of course, we have Microsoft, which is open to their dream. What I'm trying to share with you is that be open to every suggestion you have, every suggestion you're given. Be patient, don't negate it, and think about it later and say, does it apply to me? Should I use this later? Or just let it go? Everybody likes to be a bit expert in someone else's business. Everybody. I said, well, I don't know about your business, but if it was me, I would do this. They go, gee, thank you very much. And it makes them feel wanted and loved and cared for. But in my heart of hearts, more important, my soul, I go, nope, nope, nope. I'm not going to argue with them because they believe they're so right. And no matter what you say, unless you agree with them, they are going to get angry, upset. So I look at these beautiful people and I say, well, they mean well. But if I was going to invest in stocks and bonds, I wouldn't talk to my neighbor. I'd talk to Warren Buffett. But even
There you
Warren,
go.
but even Warren Buffett has admitted he makes mistakes. We all do. But the most important thing is that if you're going to check someone out, you listen to them. And I remember back in Boston, I was opening up a new business. And we went over to one of the restaurants and met the owner. Said, yeah, this new concept's going to fail. It's never going to work. And so I meditated on it. And what I got is, yep, it'll work. And a lot of people said it wasn't going to work. And it was a lot of money that we were putting out. Well, we opened and it was phenomenal. And in the summer, more people went through this area, the shopping center, they claimed, that went through Disney's World.
Wow.
Obvious to say, it was phenomenally successful. Winter had slowed up, but that's another story. The point is, I was listening to what my soul told me and not what anybody else told me. And that is what's so important for all of us. In your life, you all have important decisions to make. In your life, you're hearing all kinds of stories. You know what? Sometimes you need to do this and stop listening. Sometimes, I would say all the time, ask for a sign. What is the correct thing to do? And when you don't get that answer, ask the soul to tell you when the time is right. And the time is right is when you least expect it. You could be brushing your teeth, taking a shower, or just watching the sunset, and all of a sudden this thought comes through like that, and you got your answer. Then you'll sit there and say, why did it take so long? Then you realize it's because you're impatient. How are we doing on time?
We've got about 5 more minutes
All right.
for you, and then we have
Right.
some other stuff to wrap up.
What I'm sharing with each one of you as you're watching this on Thursday evening is that you are at the precipice, a point of your life where you can fall off the cliff or you can rise to the top of Mount Kilimanjaro. What direction do you want? I'm willing to bet that most of you, if not all of you, said, I want to go to the highest pinnacle of Mount Kilimanjaro. And the answer is, are you willing to listen to your soul and trust? Because trust is risk. Risk is taking a chance. A chance can go one way or the other. But I will tell you, if you listen to what your soul, the thoughts of the soul is going. You have a 99.9999999 chance of being successful. So what's the 0.0000001 chance it's not successful? And I will tell you, some people go, well, it's 1,000% that you may not be successful. There'll always be a naysayer. And the answer is because you deviated from what your soul told you to do. That's the difference. Otherwise, you would always be 100% successful. And when you're at the top and you're doing so well, sometimes you get a message to back down or change direction. You know, if we look at the history, Polaroid camera was blue chip. Overnight, they disappeared because of cell phones. They knew it was coming, and they could have done something. I don't know what. They could have done something. Kodak, great company, made all kinds of cameras and films. They refused to change and be in the flow. So what's happening? They're probably around, but I don't see them or hear about them. There are so many other companies that happened to that they disappeared. And I will share one more thing. I will share a little bit about Sears and Roebuck. Sears and Roebuck was a very successful catalog company, and they had retail stores.
I loved their catalogs.
It was phenomenal.
Yeah.
But here's what's interesting. When they first came out with their catalog, one of the places in which they had their catalog, of course, was in the South. Now, there was we're talking the 10s and 2010, 18, 20, 2030. There was a lot of prejudice. And so many of the storekeepers overcharged people of color the products or sold them inferior products at a great price. Sears came out. They didn't know whether you're pink, yellow, orange, or white. Here's my price. So they began to order it. And that helped put Sears and Roebuck on the map. And they grew and grew. I was in Whitefish, Montana, and they were talking about Craftsman's homes. And, oh, well, those are custom-made homes. They looked at me, what are you talking about? These were homes bought from Sears and Roebuck back in 1910 and 20. I said, wow, this is 2020? And the houses are still there? Yep. Amazing. So was mail order houses. I don't know if you're aware of that, but
wow.
And then I'll share a little bit of humor. One of my other students, and she was 85 years old, she said, you know, we got this Sears and Roebuck, catalog. We had outhouses, and that was the toilet paper. And I kind of
Okay, I
laughed.
remember that. My grandfather had that in the outhouse.
Exactly.
He didn't have plumbing where he lived.
So it had a dual purpose, right? Little humor there. So the bean counters eventually said, well, it's too expensive to have a catalog. We're going to cut it out and save money. Whoever was the leadership of Sears at that point didn't ask for his soul to tell them it's right action and correct exchange. Should we give it up? What happened? They gave it up. We know about Amazon. Everybody's doing mail order. That's how bright those were at Sears and Roebuck, because they didn't bother to meditate and ask for an answer. Should we give up catalogs? So I sure thought I'd share these stories. A little story to say, if you listen to the thoughts of your soul, you ask for guidance, no expectations, no attachments. Whether you're buying chewing gum, you're buying a car, a house, a dress, going on vacation, you'll always get the right example and the right answer. And remember, the ego has to give a long litany of why you should do something. The soul says, yep, I know what's best for you. Do this, period. Buy that. And that's it. So I thought I'd share this with you. So I want to thank all of you for listening. And remember to ask your soul for guidance and just say when the time is right, a clear and concise answer that I can't misunderstand. So I want to thank all of you. And to you?
Oh. I was a clear and concise answer, but why is it that people, I just have to ask you this. Why is it that people get the clear and concise answer and they still go the other way?
Because it's their ego. They don't want to hear it. They only want to hear what they want to hear. They don't want to hear what's best for them, only what they're thinking.
Okay, so that's like that lady that had an answer that she wanted to get to, and because of all the other people that said do this, regarding the boat
Right.
and her talking books, that she kept looking for the answer, and because even though 9 people said it's the talking books, she kept going, and she would have kept on looking until she found the one that was
Exactly.
agreeing with her.
Exactly.
Okay, so you're no longer listening to the thoughts of your soul.
Correct.
Ah, there's a powerful lesson. Huh?
Yes.
Okay, I just need a little clarity there. Thank you for that. That's
You're welcome.
fabulous. And why don't you take a minute before you go into what you do on Tuesday nights and the second Saturday? Also mention a little bit about the nonprofit,
Yes,
if that would
thank
be
you.
okay.
So as we've been talking for quite a while, we're getting closer and closer. The International Institute of Self-Empowerment. It's a 501c3. And of course, that's a nonprofit designation by the IRS. And essentially, it's going to have 12 arms, so 12 different divisions. And the first one is going to be working with abused women, children, and men. When I met this beautiful soul next to me and realized that I had the honor of, working with her, one of the most important things I learned is about how abused women and children have been treated. And I realized it's a dire, important emergency thing we need to do, especially in the days that we've existed with COVID virus and other things that are going on in this world. So the first arm will be that. And I've learned a lot about it, but I'm not an expert. But this woman next to me is a survivor of it. Anybody that's a survivor is an expert. I don't care what you get out of books or what the psychiatrists or psychologists say. If you live it, you experience it, and you rise above it, you're the expert. So I asked her to become the chairperson and the head of the division of abused women and children and men. So thank you.
Thank you for the honor. I
You're welcome.
appreciate that. And yes, we bring my experience forth, and with Michael's guidance, we're all overcoming a lot of hurdles. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Now tell the incredible viewers that we have, what do you do Tuesday night?
Every Tuesday night from 6:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. Pacific time, we have the words of wisdom in which you call in and ask questions, and then I deliver a 10-minute message. So important because you learn and grow. But even if the same question is repetitious, you go, oh, I heard that before. Maybe you heard it 3 months ago, but you forgot what the answer was. So sometimes when something comes up in our life we're reminded of, it's because we're not following that direction. So it's awfully important. And I would invite all of you to join us. And this is done on freeconferencecall.com. It's not on the phone, not on Zoom.
It is on the phone.
Hmm?
We dial in on the phone.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. We're just clarifying.
So the telephone number is?
Okay. The telephone number to that call is 202 926 1059. And
the access code is 125446 pound.
I'll give it again. 202 926 1059. And the code?
125446 pound. I love doing that. And then the second Saturday of every month, called the Mass Consciousness Healing. To me, it's one of my pet programs. My pet, because many of you may not have realized, but this planet was designed to be a retreat, a center of healing, a love, and a center of beauty and happiness. And it got fouled up by extraterrestrials and others who had different agendas. And so a lot of people on this planet got lost. My goal is to get 1% of the population to embrace reconnection with the true source, or some would say God, the true source. 1% of 8.5 billion people, a lot of people. But the 1% will go from 1 to 2%, 2% to 4%, that whole syndrome. And the most important thing is we have to express the energy of love. So at 9:55 a.m. Pacific Standard Time to 11:01 Pacific Standard Time, we do a mass consciousness healing. First 3 to 5 minutes I talk, then we're into silence. And then I talk 2 or 3 minutes before the end. So I would invite all of you to join us, to realize that you are important and you are making a difference. And to access that is the same as the words of wisdom. And that telephone number is?
It's 202 926 1059. And
The access code is 125446 pound. Now you hear me repeat this at every time we do a podcast, but I'm amazed at how many people go, "Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Oh yeah, I'm trying to remember about that. Well, it was on 3 weeks ago, and I forgot." That's why we keep repeating it. For you, those that tune in all the time, have patience with us. Thank you.
And also, if you happen to dial in late and you don't hear anything, that means that we're already meditating. So just join us. You're welcome to join in. And you will hear Michael's voice as everything concludes. Okay. So I need to touch base on one more thing.
And that is the replay.
The replays, yes. Would you care to explain?
Yes. On the words of wisdom, every Tuesday evening, I deliver a 10, 12-minute message. I think there are 255 approximately. And we're going to give you a number that you can call in. And it's going to ask you what number. It starts from number 3 up to 255. Whatever number comes in your mind, I don't care what it is. You go, yeah, I need to listen to that. I hear that all the time. I don't want to know what number 93 was about, but I felt I should choose that. And when I did, it's just what I needed to hear. So when you're stuck in traffic, you're depressed, you're lost, you're angry, you don't know what direction to go to, or you just want to find some answers, use the call-in because the answer will be there. And that telephone number is?
Okay, 434 300 4170. Access
and
code?
Guess what the access code number is? 125446 pound.
I'll give that number one more time. It's also going to be in the comments, so you'll be able to save the comments as well. It's 434 300 4170, and
the access code is 125446 pound.
Gotcha.
All right.
Okay. Now, there's one more thing I want to add. All right. Everything that we do when we record it, previous lives that we've done, you can find all of them on YouTube at Dr. Michael B. Gross. So not only are we putting all our recordings there, but all his 10-minute recordings from his Tuesday night call-ins are also now appearing on his YouTube channel. So hit the subscribe button so you don't miss any of the golden nuggets that he shares. And one more thing, I have one more question for you, Michael.
Well, just remember, every Thursday night at 7 p.m., we're doing a recording like we are now. So we ask you to join us and spread the word. What's your question?
Invite your friends to all of this. And my question is, how can people, do you offer, my question, I'm sorry, I'm rephrasing it. Do you offer any kind of a complimentary call?
I'm glad you asked. Boy, was that a setup, huh? Yes, for new people, we have something special. We have a 15 to 20-minute complimentary call. And you can reach me by going to Dr. Michael Gross, #1, at gmail.com. That's Dr. Michael Gross 1, numerical 1, at gmail.com. Or you can call me, and if I'm tied up, leave a text message, 253-222-1096. That's 253-222-1096, and I'll get back to you as quickly as possible. So thank you for bringing that up. And the last thing we want to say, this is sponsored and brought to you by Healing the Holes in Your Soul, written by T.U. Knapp.
And the Spiritual Primer, written by Dr. Michael Gross. And I will say, begin with this book, because this book and this man are the reason that book was written. He's helped me so very, very much that I was so incredibly lonely and lost, not knowing where do I go in my life. You know, I just felt like I had a hole in my soul, and I did. And he has the key to helping all of us move forward And I am so incredibly grateful that you have agreed to work with me because I'm not an easy girl. No, I have nothing but the highest regard for this man. So, Michael has a new book coming out soon. You want to share that really quick,
Yes,
too?
I have a new book, second edition, coming out with more information on the 12 manifestation protocols. There's been a little delay, unless you haven't noticed, a shortage of paper. Things are going on, so I'm hoping late winter it'll be out. But as soon as it is, we're going to have a big book party. So thank you,
Yes.
everyone. I want to wish you a wonderful week, lots of success and joy. Join us next Thursday at 7 p.m. Pacific time. Thank you, everybody. Remember, you are unlimited.
Unlimited.
Namaste.
Namaste.
Take care, everybody. We love you.
Love you.